Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It is the Doha 500 final preview and prediction video for the men's, and we've got a really interesting final. Andrey Rublev versus Jack Draper. Yes, it's not Novak Djokovic, it's not Carlos Alcaraz, it's not Daniel Medvedev. It is Andrey Rublev versus Jack Draper in the final. And I tell you what, I think this could be an extremely exciting final, and I'll break down why in a second. Before we do get into it, remember to that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Thank you, as always, to our members on YouTube. Okay, so the head-to-head is actually 3-0 in favor of Andrey Rublev. And you might say, well, hold on then, Faizan, this could be very one-sided. I don't agree. The last time they played was in 2023, and it was a 4-set win for Andrey at the US Open. They played once in Washington and once at the ATP ATP Masters event in Madrid as well, where Andrey Rublev also won that in 3 sets. Straight sets was the win in Washington. Tactically and strategically, I will talk about that in a second. Before I do, I just want to talk about their route to the final, who they've played, how they've looked. Rublev's looked good, I have to say. Beat Bublik in straight sets, Borges in straight sets. The match against Dimona, who was the second seed, I thought was a really impressive performance from Rublev. He had 5, I think, match points before taking a final set tiebreaker. But he had 5 match points before that tiebreaker. And, the Rublev in the past, he would have imploded. He would have. It would have really got to him. He would have struggled with the whole situation and scenario of the match and the frustration. But I saw him laughing, and I looked at that and thought, you know what? That's a positive sign. It's a positive sign. It means that he is able to better control his emotions in a positive way. And he managed to do that because he took the final set tiebreaker 10-8. It was a clutch performance in the end. And Dimona's been playing some really good tennis. So that was a real big W for me. And then he also beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in a third set tiebreaker 7-5. Again, clutch. Clutch. So in terms of the mental side of things and really being able to grind out results, he's been doing that in this tournament. So he won't be particularly nervous, I don't think, in the final, which is a great sign for him. For Draper, he's had an easier route, I think it's fair to say. Beat Popyrin and O'Connell. He was due to potentially face Djokovic in the quarterfinals, but Berrettini spoiled the party by beating Djokovic in the first round. Draper won against the Italian in 3 sets, coming from a set down. He also came from a set down against Lehechka and won in 3 as well. So 2 comeback wins for Jack, and that'll give him a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence, if I'm being honest. Because he will be thinking, look, I can potentially lose the first against Rublev, but I have confidence I can come back and beat him because I've done it in the last 2 matches. So why not do it in this match too? And I don't think he'll bet too much importance on the head-to-head either, because he's a much different player to what he was in 2023. A very different player. In terms of tactically, so I think in the past, the reason why Rublev would have had so much success against Draper is because of the potency of Rublev's forehand cross-court, which is just, he hits one of the hardest forehands on tour. And cross-court into the backhand of Draper, it's not a great matchup. In the past, it wouldn't have been anyway, especially with Draper's lefty backhand. Also, he's got an incredible in-out forehand, which, as we know, can be really potent against a lefty who's having to stretch and on the forehand side and defend, and sometimes that can be a bit of an issue and a weakness to be exploited for a lot of left-handers. I think the dynamics change now. Draper should actually be able to take advantage of the Rublev two-hander, which is much improved, by the way, in the last few years, but his lefty serve is going to be really key the slider out wide, for example, from the ad side. I think he needs to really lean into the leftiness of his game in this matchup against Rublev. I think he needs to go big, find angles, cross court on the back to the backhand of Rublev, and try and stay away from the forehand as much as possible, I think. And if you can find the angles and the shorter angles cross court into the backhand, then it keeps Rublev away from being able to run around the backhand and hit into out and into in forehand, which is where he can really hurt Draper. The serve's going to be key for Draper, it really is, because that's where he can get 3 points. Rublev is not the best returner on tour. I don't think he would even be in the top 10 or 15 returners on tour. So if he's able to get some of those 3 points, get through some easy service games, that'll put him in good stead for the rest of the match and the return games, right, on Rublev's serve. I also think that Draper should come forward to the net when he can. Now, it's a bit of a risk when you have someone with the amount of firepower that Rublev does have and does possess, but he needs to be a bit tactical with that, I think, and maybe approach the backhand. I think approaching the forehand is probably not the way to go. So approach the backhand and be very proactive on the +1 play and make sure that Rublev's unable to get into it. Rublev is an extremely good player, but he's not the best defending and on the back foot. So Draper needs to try and be the one dictating and being the one who's on the front foot and potentially the one that's, going line first, for example, with the backhand line, trying to get into the Rublev backhand. He needs to be the one dictating, right? And that will put him in a really good position. For Rublev, there's a few things. I think he needs to serve well in his own right, and that means hitting his spots and trying to get through the service games comfortably. He doesn't have as big a serve as Draper and maybe as much variation, but he does have a potent enough serve that he should be able to, when serving well, hold pretty comfortably for the most part. And what's more impressive, I think, with Rublev's service games than it is in comparison to Draper's is the +1 forehand, right? It's so devastating when on song. So that is going to be a real thing for Draper to bear in mind. He's going to have to scramble and defend in quite a few of those points and try and just make Rublev play an extra ball and hope that he makes a mistake. And then when he's able to transition from defense to attack, he needs to be able to do that seamlessly and at a flick of a switch to go on the front foot against Rublev. So that's going to be key. I think though I think it'll end up being a tug of war tussle, really, of momentum in the rallies and in the points, and that's going to be a big factor, I think, in this matchup because both players possess firepower. Both players, I think are able to exploit some weaknesses in the other pretty easily. But it's going to be who executes their plan the best, if I'm being honest. I have quite a lot of faith in Draper and him being able to come out and play some really good tennis. I think he's going to start making an inroad into the head-to-head and finally get his first win over Rublev. And I think he's going to do it in 3 sets. Let me know in the comment section below who you think is going to win and why. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you in the next video.